Okay, welcome back to another episode of the Shadows and Ink podcast. And this month, our guest is Mia Dalia, and we will be talking to her about her new book and her writing. So I'm going to let her introduce herself and right now and take it away.
Hi, everybody. My name is Mia Dalia. I write dark psychological fiction primarily, most of which that's published has been horror. And very excited about my new novel, Beautiful Ones, that's coming out from Crystal Lake on March 20th. I think it's very different from anything I've published so far, and I think people will have a lot of fun with it. Um, I've already been getting some promising feedback. So it didn't have a lot of early readers, but now people are reading and they're like, wow, okay. So it's wonderful, and I can't wait for March 20th till it goes wide.
Okay, so tell us a little bit about the book. What is Beautiful One Once, sorry, about?
Beautiful Ones is about a dream that turns into nightmare. It says on the cover, all nightmares start off as dreams. All nightmares were beautiful ones. And that was my goal in writing this. I wanted to take an absolute beautiful dream of a society set on a beautiful tropical island. Um, it's basically a utopia. But, and I wanted to show that such things are essentially unsupportable and unsustainable in the long run. And then I told myself, well, why do it long run? So I destroyed it in a day. The novel starts in the morning and ends in the evening, and it goes from paradise to hell very quickly and rather dramatically. And the novel is structured around three perspectives of different characters, and so you get to see exactly what's going on, sort of this way, all around, not just a singular focus. And I think it makes it that much more interesting because these are very different characters.
Yeah, different perspectives in a novel definitely make it more interesting. So, what sort of human issues and themes did you want to explore in the novel?
Well, the God complex thing is a big one, the dangers of playing it. But the main thing about Ronan Bart, I guess the purported antagonist of the novel, is that he, in his own way, he means well. He's not an evil character in his mind, and I think that's a very important distinction. He may be perceived as a villain, but he is not. He has an intention to build a society the way he thinks a society should be. He sees the wrongs of the world. He wants to right them in his own way, in the microcosm of this island, and he's proud of his achievement. He's happy with it. He wants to show it off to the world at large, to the universe. He wants to shout it from the rooftops. He has a visiting reporter coming in just so she could interview him and write about it, and she could observe it. This social experiment of his is a fantastic thing to him. And the thing is, though, it's pride, and the very notion that his ideas are the best ideas, that his worldview is the best worldview, and the fact that he structured the society solely within his own idea is eventually his downfall.
Mm. Yeah, not taking in other people's points of views and thinking you're right is definitely a road to destruction. So, your writing, you tend to gravitate towards psychological aspects. What is it about the human psyche that you like to explore?
Oh, it's the most fascinating thing there is to explore. There is so much to tinker with, and our understanding of it, although it's improving, is still somewhat limited. It's kind of like the universe. We've spent all this time studying the universe, but we still say, well, yeah, but most of it is dark matter and dark energy, and we have no idea what that is. And I think a lot of it is the same with people. We walk through life and we see people, we encounter them, but we don't really know what's going on with them, what makes them tick, why they do what they do. And to me, that's one of the best things that fiction can do. It can show us inside of people, inside of their minds. If done right, it can help us develop understanding and promote compassion, and just be aware of the fact that other people exist and they have their own ideas and carry their own burdens and so on. It's the basic theory of the mind. They always try to study animals for this, to find if any animals are advanced enough to understand that other animals have different thoughts and ideas. And of course, they do, because animals are much smarter than we give them credit for. But mostly I do write people. So, and people are endlessly fascinating for me to unpack and pack back in and see what happens.
Yeah, it definitely. I think the human psyche is pretty much just a horror stable too. I mean, you wouldn't have horror if you didn't have the dark psyches of human beings, I don't think.
Exactly. And even if people don't think, that these elements are dark, if you look at them in the right ways, they are, or they can be, or they can turn to be. And that's what I love to write about. I don't want to write conventional heroes and villains. I want to write complex, nuanced characters who are both, because people are both. There is no absolutes.
Yeah, I watch a lot of true crime and read a lot of true crime. And it is very thin, the line between, a normal, regular person and a person that actually does something despicable. They can cross it very easily. So yeah. Um, so you've written in several subgenres of horror, from eldritch to ghosts, vampires, monsters, and sci-fi. Um, what do these different aspects of horror bring to your writing journey? And is it the challenge or the thrill of exploring new worlds and dark corners?
It's both. I love a challenge, and I set them for myself all the time, just writing challenges. I'll find a prompt and I'll write specifically to that prompt, or I come across something and I'm like, I'm going to make a story out of it. I've recently challenged myself few months ago to write hard science fiction, which I'm not a scientifically minded person. I don't even read hard sci-fi, so that took effort. For me, it's just, as an author, I want to always push myself, and I want to always grow and acquire new skill sets. But with horror, there's just so much. It's it's about fears, and there's so many things to fear. It's just so fun, and I've never met like a horror aspect that I didn't think was worthy of attention or a story, and I've never met a trope I didn't want to subvert. So whenever I come across a trope, I always think, well, what can I do with this trope that I haven't read anywhere else? And that's basically how a lot of beautiful ones came across. I don't want to talk about the trope because I want to avoid all kinds of spoilers. But when readers get into it, they'll see what I mean. And I've written vampires that are very different. I've written haunted houses that are very different. I just want to write really original stories, and on any subject.
Mm. Yeah, I like the fact you said that there's so much to fear. That's why horror is so interesting. And you're right. So
It's a terrible world.
yeah. So you've also written in other genres like mysteries and thrillers. So what is about those genres that you find appealing as a writer?
Well, that's just fun, but it's also very challenging for me. Horror comes very naturally to me. I could write it with my eyes closed. Well, maybe not with my eyes closed, but maybe with one eye closed and one arm tied. But other genres are a little more work. And with mysteries, the challenge is to make them unpredictable. For a while, I went through this bender of mysteries and suspense. And it got to the point where I was seeing so many tropes repeated over and over, and it got so predictable. I would pick up a book and I would solve it within the first 30% or something. And so whenever I tackle a mystery, my biggest goal is to make it completely unpredictable. I grew up on Agatha Christie. To this day, I cannot predict Agatha Christie novels if I revisit them. I just think her mind worked brilliantly in that respect, and that's my golden standard. That's why I try to hit. I want to write I want to twist a puzzle that people can't predict. And I have a personal stake in it because my wife is like Sherlock Holmes when it comes to these things. I can solve them okay. She can solve everything. It's hopeless. We'll start a movie or a show and she'll know what's going on within the first 20%. So anytime I write a mystery or a thriller, she reads it. And if she's fooled, I know it works. And if she's not, I will fix it until she is. So all of my mysteries have passed her seal of approval.
Oh, that's fun. Having a real life Sherlock Holmes to proofread your mysteries.
It's truly alarming. I don't even know where it's coming from. It's not what she does for a living or anything, but one time we took a forensic science class together for fun, and she just wiped my floor with it. It was embarrassing. She's just so good.
Okay, so this is Women in Horror Month, so let's talk a little bit about being a female horror writer. Do you view the state of women writers in horror today? How do you view that? Um, do you think it's easier to be accepted in the world of horror as a woman these days?
I do, yes. I don't know how much of it is based on my personal perspective because I haven't tried to write horror at any other time or write anything at any other time. And I've only been writing for 4.5 years. But I do see a lot more female horror authors. I read a lot more female horror authors. So I'm guessing, yeah, I think it is easier. Yeah.
Okay, do you think horror lends itself to exploring certain aspects of the female experience more than other genres?
That's a good question. I'm not sure how to answer it. I do know that I would say 80 to 90% of new horror books written by female authors that I see coming up or freshly released feature a form of words female rage. And I think that's definitely a big trope right now. And I do think certain aspects of being a woman in a society, even today's society, are rather horrific. So on that scale, yes. And I think in the last few years, it probably has gotten worse. I've written about it. My new novelette about witches is set in a slightly futuristic society where bad things have happened and now women are viewed a certain way as witches. I wrote a story, This Broken World, which is a finalist in Imagine Awards right now. And that very much deals with current issues. But I don't think of myself as an issues writer. It just, like I said, horror is about fears. And I think sometimes my personal fears bleed into the narrative and I want to explore them. I think that sort of in a roundabout way answers that.
Yeah, I think sometimes the issues bleed into writing whether you want them to or not. To be honest, I've had that happen in a couple of my stories too, especially when I'm writing from female protagonist point of view. Things have bled into the narrative that I hadn't planned on putting in there. So, yeah, that happens.
Definitely. I
So,
mean, we write as we are. We can't help it. I didn't set off to write a very specific story. I wrote a story for anthology of reproductive horror. That was the theme, and I wanted to address it in some way. And what came out ended up being an absolutely terrifying story. I think it's one of my best, This Broken World, that story. It disturbed me profoundly, and the writer told me it made her cry. It was the only story submitted to her that made her cry. So I'm like, okay, I didn't know I had all that going in, but
well, that's actually a very good compliment. So, congratulations on that.
it's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite. I was so grateful. I'm like, okay, it works. It's working.
Okay,
Thank you.
so do you enjoy writing female characters more as protagonists or antagonists, or did they both have a particular enjoyment?
I don't have a preference. I don't even know if I necessarily write more female protagonists than male. I actually probably statistically write more male protagonists. And lately, I've been experimenting with genderlessness, which is I find very rewarding in a way. I think it helps. Um, I think the readers can read those stories and project what they want to see in the character. Gives them a little more of a blank canvas. I'm personally more interested in writing psychology of the character. I want to know why they are the way they are, why they do the way they do, beyond gender. I understand that gender informs the character, but I don't want them to just be specifically female characters. I'm seeing a lot of books that deal with mother-daughter relationship, sister relationship, wife-husband relationship. A lot of very sad tropes, and I want to think outside of that, and I want to write outside of that. That's more interesting to me. And as far as heroes and villains, I always try to write characters that have elements of both, because to me, those are the best characters.
Yeah, we all want nice, well-rounded characters. Do you enjoy writing villains more than the protagonist, or does it depend on the
Uh,
character?
I would say it depends on the character, but villains are so often more interesting because they're just they have a more convoluted path. The good characters, the heroes, always kind of are aware they're heroes. They know it's their story. They know what they're doing, and they get the full support of the readers. They get the full support of other characters. They're on their journey, and the villains don't have that. The villains are only heroes in their own mind. So they're just so much more interesting to explore, to understand why they think the way they think, what makes them this way. I think they're just, they give you a bigger sandbox to play with, I would say.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that one. Your story in the anthology Dastardly Damsels is The Final Girls. So tell us a little bit about that story. Yeah.
Ta-da! That was like my Crystal Lake debut. This was actually one of the first stories I've ever written, and the editor Susie, she loved it, and she got it for the anthology. But it took 2 years, I think, from the time she said she liked it to the time it actually came out and became published. And I always say that I've never met a trope I didn't like to subvert, so I wanted to subvert a trope of the final girl. And this is actually the final story in the anthology, appropriately enough. And I loved writing this character. I loved giving her voice. She is one of the female characters who is good and bad all at the same time. But oftentimes, if the work doesn't go deep enough into the trope, it just sort of leaves the character like, yay, she survived, hurrah, end credits. To me, that doesn't ring true. I think, it's like in forensic science, they say every contact leaves a trace. I think every experience leaves a trace. I think we are changed, we are altered by every experience, and it's not always for the better. And whatever doesn't kill us makes us stronger is too broad of a cliche, and it doesn't always apply. I think sometimes things don't kill us, and they don't necessarily make us stronger, or they make us weirder, or they make us darker, or they make us scarier.
Traumatized.
Yeah, I think, experiences mark us. We walk through life marked by our experiences. I wanted to write a final girl who is permanently altered by her experience, and I wanted to explore what that would look like. Her truth, not just a neat, I didn't want her to neatly dance off into the sunset. I saw no gain in that. Not for readers, not for me as a writer. So I did something very different, and it
Yeah.
worked.
Do you enjoy the final girl trope generally?
I don't enjoy tropes if they stick strictly to the trope. I get very tired of them. If somebody does something different with a final girl, absolutely. But just the trope of like she survives and walks away, like, yay, great, but not interesting. I'd rather it be interesting. I'd rather people were interesting than good.
Mm.
So
Okay, so you were also a part of an anthology about Lizzie Borden. And did you have an interest in the case before writing this story? And what approach did you take?
Another female-driven. This one. I was interested in the case, but it was more of a passing interest. Unlike you, I'm not a huge true crime person, but I am interested in true crime from a historical perspective, because the case was so interesting in the fact that she got acquitted, of course, and she went on to live her life. So I think what happened with her was a very interesting snapshot of the time she lived in and her role in the society of the time. But yeah, how that came to be is I saw that this anthology was being put together. I recognized the name of the editor as someone I've read before. And I thought, oh, well, it would be neat to work with her. And I sat down and wrote a story in a few hours, sent it to her, and she liked it. I do that to myself all the time. It's part of the challenges I like to set for myself. I usually very quick with short stories, and I love writing on theme. So I got to do a bit of fun research for my story. And yeah, I'm very happy with the way it turned out. It's about her hatchet.
Okay, so that on that intriguing note, we'll go on to the next question. It's like you've written a lot of short stories.
Yeah.
So what about writing short fiction do you like?
Oh, it's my favorite thing. It requires so little commitment and it offers so much versatility. I can write a short story on any subject, any length. If you email me in the morning and tell me I need 5,000 words on this theme in this genre, it will be done by the end of the day. And I love that I could just do that. It's so much fun. Everything else requires a ridiculous commitment. And I just love how many different short stories I can do, and I love how many different anthologies are out there with themes. I love writing on specific themes, especially if they prod me to do research into subjects I don't know as much about and things like that. I think I've published almost 70 short stories now, and the variety is so great, and it's all over the place too. It's across several countries. I've been published in New Zealand, twice now in Australia, in UK, in Ireland, just all over Canada several times. And yeah, I just love it because it's so easy. You just set off a little goal for yourself. I want to be here. Like last year, I finally got into Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine, which was on my list. It took 5 tries, and I'm like, no, my mysteries are good. So that got in there. Yeah, I just like it. It's wonderful fun. It's not effort at all. The novels can be sometimes, so can novellas, but short stories are just sheer joy.
Oh, yeah, and congrats on the Ellery Queen Mystery Magazine. I mean, I read that obsessively when I was growing up. I loved that magazine. I've still got copies kicking around here somewhere.
Yeah,
I mean,
I have one with my own name. Same. It's so iconic. I'm just like, I have to. I just kept trying.
so congrats on that. That's a big achievement.
Thank you.
Anyway, so of all the books you've written, do you have one that stands out for you as a particular achievement?
Playing favorites again. Well, I would have to say, I guess, my debut novel, which is the only one I've ever had framed, produced. But so, Estate Sale had a very interesting road coming into the world. It was the first thing I've written, and it's actually a novel that has short stories in it because I love short stories so much. I was writing parallel the main narrative and the short stories that go in it. And at the time, I wasn't even sure what I was doing. I just was doing it because it felt right. And it was just a sheer labor of love. I wrote it, we were still partially in lockdown at the time. I didn't have my own computer at the time. My wife was working remotely. So I would wake up at the crack of dawn. I would write until she needed the computer. And at night when she would go to bed, I would do edits on what I wrote. And in the middle of the day when I couldn't have the computer, I would read, I would do research on YouTube. I would research certain aspects of it because it's a historical novel. It spans the entirety almost of 20th century. and I wanted to get everything right. And yeah, by the time I got it out, I just people love it still. People loved it. It was such a wonderful reception. To my knowledge, it's made 4 people cry because I do collect those emails. And a year ago, a little over a year ago, I thought I should revisit the book, and I did. And I completely re-edited it, start to finish. I expanded it by 10%, and I republished it with Lethe Press, just slightly updated cover. And I'm just really proud of this book, very proud of the new version. And yeah, I think it's probably the most complex thing I've done, not the longest, but just conceptually and stylistically, this is by far the most complex. And it's also a love story. It's been voted in as most romantic on Instagram before. And I'm just like, yeah, and it has a really broad readership too. I'm glad it's not just horror people. It's been read very broadly by a lot of different people who approach me and email me, and it's just always so rewarding. So yeah, I guess I'm not playing favorites. I love them all, but Estate Sale will always be my special firstborn.
Yeah, I think the first book, the debut novel, always has a bit of a special place for authors. Yeah. So, is there a genre you haven't written in that you'd like to try in the future?
I don't know. I think I've tried already all the genres. I know to keep up with what's popular, I should probably go fantasy romantasy road, but I just have no interest in that as a reader, so I don't think I would do it justice as a writer. But other than that, no, I'm happy with just all the genres I'm writing in now. I just want to continue writing in all these genres, and I hope people will continue following me across genres and not just see me as one type of writer, because I can do a lot.
Yeah, yeah. I looked at your resume. You definitely can do a lot.
Yes, I can busy. Thank you.
Okay, so what project are you currently working on?
Right now, well, I never talk about projects in progress, but right now, main focus is on getting my work out there. I've been very prolific for a very long time, and I just have a giant stack of completed projects that I'm looking to find a home for in a meaningful way. When I first started off in publishing, I didn't know as much as I know now, and I've made a lot of mistakes. And now going forth, I want to very much focus on how my output is produced into the world. I have a new agent as of the end of last year, John Gerald. So he's submitting my work too. And yeah, I have so many projects coming out this year that I've just been doing a lot of promoting. And when I'm not promoting, I've been revisiting my very, very early writing and polishing it up. And it's a lot of fun just to see how much I've progressed as a writer, and just to see those stories and to really make them shine. So I've been doing that right now. And yeah, hoping to just continue putting more work out full stream ahead. I think I have enough for about a decade if I budget it right.
Well, I'm sure we'll have a lot to look forward to then. Okay, it was a pleasure chatting with you today. Thank you for being a guest on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me, and likewise. Thank you.
Okay, that's it for this episode, and bye for now, everybody.